Abigail, also popularly called the Unforgettable Woman. Abigail was a truly inspiring woman. Whenever we are tempted to forget the importance of having a valuable teammate, the story of Abigail is bound to stop us in our tracks and bring us a more profound understanding or clarity about the power of good influences in our lives. She was the woman whose hospitality, knowledge, and independence saved her husband when he acted foolishly before David, the soon-to-be king of Israel. Everyone makes mistakes at some point in their lives, but having wise counsel can prevent bad situations from getting worse. Following the death of the prophet Samuel, David went down to the wilderness of Paran in the southern part of Judah, possibly to get away from Saul and his murderous schemes. As customary, Nabal was shearing his sheep there, and David sent some young men to ask for a gift in exchange for the protection he had provided for Nabal's flock. But Nabal's response to David's servants was so selfish and rude that David became enraged and marched towards Carmel with about 400 men to punish Nabal and his household. 1 Samuel 25, 12-35, New American Standard Bible. So David's young men made their way back and returned, and they came and informed him in accordance with all these words. Then David said to his men, "Each of you strap on his sword." So each man strapped on his sword, and David also strapped on his sword, and about 400 men went up behind David, while 200 stayed with the baggage. Now one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, "Behold, David sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, and he spoke to them in anger. Yet the men were very good to us, and we were not harmed, nor did anything go missing as long as we went with them, while we were in the fields. They were a wall to us both by night and by day. All the time we were with them, tending the sheep. Now then, be aware and consider what you should do, because harm is plotted against our master and against all his household, and he is such a worthless man that no one can speak to him." Then Abigail hurried and took 200 loaves of bread and 2 jugs of wine and 5 sheep already prepared, and 5 measures of roasted grain, and 100 cakes of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and she loaded them on donkeys. Then she said to her young men, "Go on ahead of me. Behold, I am coming after you." But she did not tell her husband Nabal. And it happened, as she was riding on her donkey and coming down by the hidden part of the mountain, that behold, David and his men were coming down toward her. So she met them. Now David had said, "It is certainly for nothing that I have guarded everything that this man has in the wilderness, so that nothing has gone missing of all that belonged to him, for he has returned me evil for good. May God do so to the enemies of David, and more so, if by morning I leave alive as much as one male, or any who belong to him." When Abigail saw David, she hurried and dismounted from her donkey, and fell on her face in front of David, and bowed herself to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "On me alone, my lord, be the blame, and please let your slave speak to you, and listen to the words of your slave. Please do not let my lord pay attention to this worthless man, Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and stupidity is with him. But I, your slave, did not see the young men of my lord whom you sent. Now then, my lord, as the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, since the Lord has restrained you from shedding blood, and from avenging yourself by your own hand, now then may your enemies and those who seek evil against my lord be like Nabal. And now let this gift which your servant has brought to my lord be given to the young men who accompany my lord. Please forgive the offense of your slave, for the Lord will certainly make for my lord an enduring house, because my lord is fighting the battles of the Lord, and evil will not be found in you all your days. Should anyone rise up to pursue you and to seek your life, then the life of my lord shall be bound in the bundle of the living with the Lord your God. But the lives of your enemies he will sling out as far the hollow of a sling. And when the Lord does for my lord in accordance with all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and appoints you ruler over Israel, this will not become an obstacle to you, or a troubled heart to my lord, both by having shed blood without cause, and by my lord's having avenged himself. When the Lord deals well with my Lord, then remember your slave." Then David said to Abigail, "Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, who sent you this day to meet me, and blessed be your discernment, and blessed be you, who have kept me this day from bloodshed, and from avenging myself by my own hand. Nevertheless, as the Lord God of Israel lives, who has restrained me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, there certainly would not have been left to Nabal until the morning light as much as one male." So David accepted from her hand what she had brought him, and said to her, "Go up to your house in peace. See, I have listened to you, and granted your request." David was bent on destroying Nabal and everything he owned if it wasn't for the timely intervention of his wife Abigail, who read the situation, anticipated David's response, and quickly took steps to avert the impending calamity set to befall her family. What if she had sided with her husband to the point of risking the destruction of their entire family, instead of holding him accountable for his actions? If Abigail hadn't spoken up, David may have sought revenge against her for her husband's disrespect and lack of gratitude. However, she did speak up, and all issues were resolved. Nabal's wife may have excelled in relationships, but Nabal floundered. Their marriage illustrates that opposites do attract. Nabal was aware that David had saved his people from the Philistines and Goliath. Additionally, he knew that David was the anointed king of Israel and had been protecting his men and property. However, Nabal still refused to return the favor. She moved forward in God's courage. 1 Samuel 25:18 tells us, Abigail lost no time. She was humble and kind. Abigail knew that her words and actions were powerful, and she carefully considered each one. She recognized that the larger picture of this story was far more important than that one moment. So she reminded David of how important it was that God was constructing greatness in his life, and that the Lord himself was fighting for David. She would hear David's stories, that Saul had sought his life, that David had slain a giant with a sling, and had spoken in such a way as to bring him back to God's bigger picture. God fought for Abigail, just as he does for us today. He did not abandon her, but instead showed her great favor in David's eyes. This is why it is necessary to have a spouse, friend, or teammate that makes us accountable and helps us to be responsible.
In closing, our question for the day: what's a worship song that has helped you feel closer to God?